I forgot to buy yours, LOL. As soon as I confronted him, Matt laughed as if it was all a big joke. Without a doubt, he intentionally didn't buy a ticket for me. Geez, Matt, you're such a klutz. My mother-in-law was laughing so hard she had to hold her stomach as she called out to Matt. Everyone was laughing hysterically, and I really felt sick. That's fine, I'm going home, I said with a sigh. Yay, do that. A person like you wouldn't fit in at a luxury lodge anyway. It's actually for the best. Matt is all smiles. Just because you're alone, don't you go splurging on dining out or anything. I'll be checking the receipts later, just so you know, said my mother-in-law, looking down on me with a chuckle. Well, now that's settled, let's get going. My father-in-law cheerfully suggested to Matt and the others, and the three of them headed for the boarding gate. Just how much do these people look down on me? I absolutely cannot forgive them. I took out my smartphone and made a call to someone. Surely, the three of them will be regretting this soon. I'm Jessica. This year, I turned 50. Currently, it's just my husband Matt and I living together. We live close to my in-laws, about a 15-minute walk from our house. I met Matt more than 20 years after I started working. At my current company, I'm in charge of sales. Lately, I've been struggling to meet my quotas, making me dread every day to go to work. Naturally, my mood has been low. And of course, my sales haven't been following. Getting scolded by my boss for poor sales performance only made going to work even more dreadful. I felt like I was caught in a negative loop. That's when I met Matt. I encountered Matt in the break room of the 10-story building where I work. This building houses several companies, and there's a communal break room on the 3rd floor. At lunchtime, female employees from other floors would eat their packed lunches there. I often took my breaks in this room, especially after being scolded by my boss. And today, after failing to meet my quota again, I was loudly reprimanded in front of everyone by my boss. As I sat alone on a chair, feeling down, Matt came over to talk to me. Are you okay? You seem a bit down. Actually, after Matt approached me for the first time, I shared my work troubles with him. I think I could easily talk to him precisely because he wasn't from the same company. Matt listened with empathy. And after our conversation, Matt told me, "From now on, I'll be here to listen, so how about we exchange contact information?" Thank you. Touched by Matt's kindness, I managed to smile through my welling tears. By then, I think I had already fallen for Matt. Gradually, Matt and I grew closer. We started dating and, after a while, began a relationship. A year into our relationship, Matt proposed, and we decided to get married. Right after our engagement, we met with his parents. We're looking forward to having you. As for financial help, just whatever you can manage is fine, his mother said with a smile, seeming very kind. Once you marry Matt, let's all go on a family trip, his father exclaimed, laughing heartily. My father-in-law seemed like a regular guy, which reassured me. Then, after discussing it together, we decided not to have children. I was in my late 40s when I married Matt. A pregnancy at this point would be a significant strain on my body. Plus, Matt mentioned he wanted to live a life with some financial freedom while taking care of my parents. Since I also wanted to focus on my career, I readily agreed to Matt's suggestion. And so, we bought a new house together. We pooled our savings to buy it outright, so it's a small house, but it's ours. We're set to become even happier from here on out. I believed that. But I came to realize it was all an illusion. Since getting married, my in-laws have been a constant source of trouble. For instance, their in-and-out visits. Ever since Matt and I started living in our newly purchased home, my in-laws would show up without any notice. And then they would point out in detail how I fall short as a housewife. At their worst, they'd go through our fridge and closets without asking, checking everything. And while screaming, they would berate me. What is this fridge? Only the cheapest beef from the supermarket. Is this what you plan to feed Matt? My mother-in-law screamed again as soon as she opened the fridge today. But I mean, we had used up our savings to buy the house outright. That's why we're trying to save as much as possible. So, when my mother-in-law complains like that, it leaves me in a tough spot. All I could do was endure her criticisms in silence. Then, one day, my in-laws were visiting our house again today. As if it were the most natural thing in the world. My mother-in-law brought a large paper bag, intending to take something back with her from our house. At first, my in-laws came empty-handed, but after a few visits, they started bringing large paper bags. Every time, they would take away a bunch of groceries and household items from our place. Everything they took was paid for out of my wallet. I began to feel increasingly uncomfortable with my in-laws' lack of restraint. While I was perplexed by their behavior, my mother-in-law picked up a certain dress from my closet. "What's this dress? It looks expensive. Wasting money again on stuff like this." That's..." I exclaimed involuntarily. My mother-in-law was holding my dress, fluttering it about. Seeing that dress, I turned pale. "Hey, please don't open it without permission. Besides, this dress is a birthday present from my mom. Please, give it back." I desperately tried to get the dress back from my mother-in-law. Actually, this dress was something my mom always cherished wearing. For work, my mom would wear designer clothes when visiting clients. This dress was given to me by my mom saying, "You're at a good age now, become a dignified woman like me." That's why I can't give this dress to my mother-in-law. However, upon seeing the dress, my mother-in-law grinned. "This kind of nice dress is too soon for you. I'll wear it then. Be grateful." "But it's a birthday present from my mom, you know." I was on the verge of tears. Then, having watched the whole scene, Matt laughed and said, "If Mom says she'll wear it for you, you should be grateful. You're a wife of our family now. Listening to my mom is your duty as a wife, right?" Matt always tried to make me yield with the phrase "wife of our family now." It wasn't the first time. The first weekend after we got married, when I was summoned to the in-laws' house early in the morning and told to weed the garden, Matt said the same thing. "It's a tradition for the wife in our family to do this, understand? Now get to it." Matt acted as if he were someone of high rank, using his status to lord over others. But I didn't want to give up the dress. As I stayed silent in frustration, my father-in-law harshly declared, "An older bride like you, Matt did you a favor by agreeing to get married. Since we can't even see a grandchild's face, at least showing us gratitude is your duty, right?" Even though he called me older, Matt and I are the same age. I felt irritated by my father-in-law's mindset that it's okay for men but not for women. Exactly, just as Dad said, "If you understand, hand over the dress to Mom." Matt nodded as if it were a matter of course. How terrible. There's not a single ally for me in this house. No matter what I say, I end up being made the villain. My mother-in-law happily stuffed the dress into a paper bag. So, tearfully, I succumbed to Matt and my in-laws' demands. But the problem isn't just with my in-laws. There's a big problem with Matt, too. Lately, Matt has been coming home late, and there have been many days when he doesn't eat dinner with me. I'm home. Today, too, Matt returns in a good mood at 1 a.m. He must have been drinking, for sure. His face is beet red. Welcome back. Despite my puzzled look, I greet Matt. Without paying much attention to me, Matt speaks up. I'm gonna take a bath. Can you put away my bag for me? After thrusting his bag at me, he heads straight for the bath. It's always like this. I go to put his bag in his room, exasperated. Then, a notification sound from the smartphone inside the bag goes off. Matt left his phone in his bag again. Matt always keeps his phone close, but it seems he forgot it in his bag today because he was drunk. If it's an urgent work call, it could be serious. I gently take the smartphone out of Matt's bag. And when I look at the screen to check the content, I freeze. What's this? The name displayed on the smartphone is that of a woman named Rachel. Today was fun, Matt, but we were pretty late. Hasn't your wife noticed? I'm worried. Seeing that message, I became convinced of Matt's affair. Then, more messages from Rachel kept coming. Some were explicit, and it became clear that Matt had been cheating for years. I took photos of the smartphone screen, one after another, expressionless. I thought these would serve as evidence of Matt's infidelity when needed. But this alone might not be enough proof. I sighed. Besides, I'm already 50, and it would be hard to remarry after leaving Matt. We don't have kids, and being alone now would be mentally tough. What should I do now? Holding Matt's smartphone, I was at a loss for what to do. Then, one day, Matt told me, "My parents' wedding anniversary is coming up again this year. Get on planning the trip, will you?" Matt had an expression that suggested it was obvious I should be the one to take action. Understood. All I could do was nod in agreement with Matt. Every year, we gift a trip for my in-laws' wedding anniversary. Of course, Matt and I also join, entertaining my in-laws. We've booked the same in every year, and I plan to book that in again this year. But in the next moment, Matt said something unexpected. "Yay, since it's my parents' 50th wedding anniversary this year, book us a special inn, will you?" I was bewildered. The usual inn we book is already quite upscale. Moreover, the cost of the trip is always paid from my salary. It's the wife's role to pay for the trip as a form of filial piety. My role is to show them a good time there, he'd say. So, booking a more expensive inn would significantly increase my burden. As I was puzzled, Matt snapped at me in a bad mood. "It's their 50th wedding anniversary, you know. Don't you have any respect for my parents?" Matt continued to drone on about how I lacked the consciousness of being a proper wife. Tired of Matt's lecturing, I just said, "Understood," and ended the conversation. Thinking of an even higher grade inn, only one place came to mind. And the method to book it was a bit unusual compared to normal. After successfully making the reservation, I spoke to Matt. I booked the inn. Matt grinned and declared, "It better be up to my standards, huh? I won't be happy if it's a lousy place." Matt, trying to find fault with a malicious look on his face. I sighed at him and replied, "It's a distance that requires a flight, but it's a reputable inn. See, this should satisfy you, right?" Saying that, I showed Matt the inn's website on my smartphone, and he nodded in satisfaction. "Well, this passes. Have you booked the flight then?" "Not yet. It shouldn't be crowded this time around since it's a weekday. I don't see any issue with booking the flight." As I responded, Matt surprisingly offered, "I'll book the flight for us." To receive this sudden proposal from Matt, who had never lifted a finger before, I asked in surprise, "Really, you don't mind?" Then Matt smiled warmly. "Yeah, you're always working hard, Jessica. I can at least take care of booking the flight. Thanks for everything." "Thank you, too." I sincerely thanked Matt. I thought he had finally become cooperative. Maybe Matt was starting to change. That's what I was hoping for. However, my decision at this moment would significantly shake things up. On the day of the trip, Matt went ahead to pick up his parents, so we planned to meet up at the airport. "Sorry to keep you waiting." As I appeared carrying both my and Matt's luggage, Matt and his parents were already at the meeting spot. And for some reason, Matt and his parents were smirking. I had a bad feeling about this. While thinking this, I noticed they each had a plane ticket in their hands. Seeing this, I approached Matt. "Can I have my plane ticket too?" Then, in the next moment, Matt said something unbelievable. "Forgot to buy it, LOL." Matt laughed as if he was having fun. "You forgot to buy mine only." In disbelief at this sudden development, I asked Matt, "Yeah, I bought my parents' tickets just fine, though, ahaga." Saying that, Matt just smirked. It was then I realized, without a doubt, he intentionally didn't buy my ticket. Though Matt, always such a klutz. My mother-in-law, holding her stomach from laughing too much, called out to Matt. Everyone was laughing hysterically, and I really felt sick. "I've had enough, I'm going home," I said, sighing. "Well, do that. Someone like you doesn't fit in at a luxury inn anyway, right? It's better this way." Matt was all smiles. "Just because you're alone, don't go eating out or anything extravagant. I'll be checking the receipts later." With a snicker and a condescending tone, my mother-in-law declared, "All right, now that's settled, let's get going." My father-in-law cheerfully called out to Matt, and the three of them headed towards the boarding gate. How much more are these people going to look down on me? I can't forgive this. I took out my smartphone and called someone. Then I immediately purchased a ticket on a different flight from Matt and his parents. Surely, the three of them will be caught in a storm of regret. That evening at 3 p.m., a call came in. It's silent, so it doesn't make a sound, but the caller is Matt. Just as I thought. I smirked and chose to ignore the call. Actually, the flight Matt and his parents were supposed to take was the morning one. Since check-in at the inn wasn't until 3 p.m., they'd probably planned to enjoy some sightseeing upon arrival. Ignoring what Matt and his parents were up to, I went ahead to the luxury inn we were supposed to stay at. There, I approached a certain person who was waiting at the luxury inn. "Mom, sorry for this sudden visit." The person was my mother. As soon as I saw her, I apologized. "What on earth are you doing, Jessica? We booked this high-grade inn, and now you suddenly can't stay?" My mother asked with a look of disbelief. Actually, I told my mother about everything Matt and his parents had done, including how my mother-in-law took the dress she had given me. Then, with a clearly angry face, my mother declared, "I will never forgive this. I'll make sure to get that dress back." And then, my mom and I hatched a plan. We worked hard to get the innkeeper on our side. Once we had a decent plan in place, Matt and his folks showed up at the inn. I spotted Matt and stealthily hid behind the front desk. Unaware of me, Matt, all smiles, proceeded to check in. His cheerful in-laws were right behind him. "We have a reservation at 3 p.m. I don't see your wife, though." The innkeeper responded with a puzzled look. "The reservation is under my full name." That's why the innkeeper's question was a routine one. Matt, aware of this, did not seem to doubt it at all. With a proud tone, Matt explained, "My wife couldn't make it suddenly due to feeling unwell." "That's not a problem, right? Someone else will join later, so we're not canceling any spots." Though I had a hunch about who the someone else might be, I stayed silent and listened. To this, the innkeeper replied with a bright smile, "If your wife is not present, you cannot use the reservation." What? Taken aback by the innkeeper's sudden declaration, Matt and his family froze. Matt started calling me repeatedly. He must be feeling unsettled. The first to snap out of it was my mother-in-law, who confronted the innkeeper. "What do you mean by cannot use? Jessica made a proper reservation, and we've come all the way here by plane." My mother-in-law's face was clearly filled with confusion. "We're here for a celebration today, so please, let's make an exception," Matt said, trying to persuade the innkeeper. The innkeeper gave a look as if to say, "Oh, brother. If you insist, you can use it, but you'll pay the additional fee, right?" What additional fee?" Matt asked, surprised, questioning the innkeeper. The innkeeper glanced at a woman sitting nearby. "President, maybe it's time to tell them the real deal, don't you think?" "Yes, I'll handle this, thank you." During this exchange between the innkeeper and the woman, my mother-in-law looked puzzled. "Who is that woman, wearing such dark sunglasses?" she started to say, but then suddenly, she was at a loss for words. Because she recognized the woman. "You're Jessica's mother, right? What are you doing here?" my mother-in-law said, clearly confused. My mom and the in-laws had only met at a family-only wedding before. My mom responded with a bright smile. "It's been a while. By the way, where's Jessica?" "She couldn't make it due to feeling unwell." Matt tried to stick to his lie in response to my mom's question. My mom sighed at Matt's response. "Come on, tell the truth. Jessica sounded fine when she called earlier. Plus, this inn was booked using our company's privilege. If she's not here, you'll have to pay the regular rate." Matt and his in-laws clearly started to get confused by my mother's mention of our company. Maybe a 70% increase. I wonder if you all can afford that." My mother smirked. "What are you talking about with our company? I haven't heard anything about a privilege from Jessica. And she hasn't mentioned anything about you either." Matt spoke, looking bewildered. He must be overwhelmed by too much information all at once. My mother-in-law also spoke up to my mother. "Are you talking about the company benefits where you work? Even the low-level employees get privileges." "Must be a small company but with generous benefits." The sharp words of my mother-in-law made my mother's brow furrow. I hadn't gone into details about my mother with Matt or his parents. Since they never asked, I never brought it up. So, Matt and his parents were quite shocked by my mother's next words. I happen to be the CEO of K Group, and by the way, Jessica is being groomed to be the next CEO. My mother said this with a broad smile. K Group, that's a major company. My mother-in-law exclaimed loudly. Both my father-in-law and Matt looked incredibly surprised. K Group is one of the leading travel agencies in the country, operating a wide variety of inns and restaurants. In fact, this inn falls under our group's umbrella. That's why we can use it at a much lower cost. K Group is a family-run business, with our family lineage managing it generation after generation. And currently, my mother is the CEO of K Group. I know the company Jessica works for, but it's not K Group. Are you trying to deceive us with lies? Matt glared at my mother accusingly. Matt and I work for different companies in the same building. That must be why Matt said such a thing to my mother. My mother laughed heartily, speaking as if it was the most amusing thing. That company is just a temporary assignment. So, Jessica is indeed part of K Group. She has trained enough and plans to return to the head office the year after next. Saying this, my mother casually handed her business card to Matt. Matt's face went pale as he looked at the card. So, you really are the CEO of K Group, Mill. Matt was visibly trembling. Next to him, his parents also turned pale. Although my father-in-law is retired and living on a pension now, it seems he was an employee before retiring. It seems he worked for a mid-sized company, retiring as a director, according to Matt. The status difference between my father-in-law, who retired as just a director of a mid-sized company, and my mother, the CEO of a major corporation, is clear. And my mother continued her onslaught. That dress, I gave it to Jessica. Why are you wearing it? It's my special winning outfit. With that, she glared sharply at my mother-in-law. I'm so sorry, I'll take it off right away. My mother-in-law, now pale, hurriedly looked for a place to change. After changing immediately, she returned the dress to my mother. If there's even a slight unraveling, I'll be charging you for the repairs, just so you're prepared. My mother-in-law responded meekly to my mother's declaration. Then, as if remembering something, Matt muttered under his breath, I need to tell Rachel not to come here. My mother didn't seem to hear or react. But I didn't miss that whisper. Popping my head out from the front, I yelled, Rachel won't be coming. Jessica, why are you here? I called you so many times just now. Matt was visibly shaken. My mother-in-law was in a similar state, exclaiming almost in a scream, Jessica. There weren't supposed to be any plane tickets left, right, and now to lose the dress too. My mother promptly retorted, that dress was originally Jessica's anyway, it's not yours. My father-in-law was also quite flustered. K Group is a major corporation, even bigger than the company I worked for, and to think she was the CEO. Saying this, my father-in-law seemed dejected. Probably his pride was hurt, being a man of high self-esteem. I came on a different flight, to seek revenge on Matt and the rest. I said with a broad smile. So, Rachel not coming is because I made sure she wouldn't come. After Matt and the others left on the plane in the morning, I called Rachel. The day I found out about the affair on Matt's phone, I secretly visited a detective agency and requested an investigation. With the investigation results, I got Rachel's contact information. I had planned to talk to Rachel directly someday, but I took this opportunity to call her. And as a result of our conversation, Rachel has made a decision. I calmly told Matt the truth. Rachel has decided to break up with you. After I contacted her about compensation, she apologized. I was only after Matt's money, she said. I was never serious about an old guy like him. It turns out Rachel is still 30 years old. The reason Rachel was dating Matt, who is 20 years her senior, was for the money. She found allure in being treated to meals and receiving brand-name gifts from Matt. Rachel had said this firmly. When he invited me to go on a trip with his parents, I thought it was about time to call it quits. I never wanted to marry Matt. Hearing this, Matt was shocked. It can't be a lie. I was even thinking of divorcing to be with Rachel. Matt. His mother-in-law moved closer to comfort the stunned Matt. His father-in-law also showed sympathy towards Matt. My mother and I were watching the three of them with a certain look. Then, I made my final decision to Matt. I'm also going to divorce Matt. From now on, you can freely date someone else, not just Rachel. The moment I mentioned divorce, Matt rebelled. I have no intention of divorcing. Without Rachel, there's no point. I will absolutely not sign the divorce papers. After all, there's no decisive evidence of the affair. My mother-in-law agreed with Matt. Exactly. We won't accept a divorce. After all, Jessica is going to be the next CEO of K Group, right? We can live even more comfortably than now. The gleam in my mother-in-law's eyes was unsettling. My father-in-law seemed pleased too. They're probably hoping for a substantial financial support from me. But I won't let things go their way. My mother was also glaring at Matt and his parents. How about you take a look at this? I handed Matt and his parents the investigation results from the detective agency. The results were unequivocally damning. Photographic evidence was incontrovertible. Perhaps due to the undeniable proof, Matt and his parents' faces turned even paler. How could you go to such lengths? Why? Watching Matt and his parents, I let out a soft laugh. As a condition for waiving Rachel's compensation, she agreed to testify favorably regarding my divorce from Matt if it goes to court. I'm looking forward to hearing what Rachel will say, aren't you? As I chuckled, Matt's face turned deathly pale. His face was filled with despair. His parents looked as though they had been dropped into the abyss. I have no intention of forgiving Matt and his parents. I'm ready to fight thoroughly to ensure they fall into their own personal hell. Eventually, my divorce from Matt was finalized. Matt resisted to the end, but ultimately, he gave in. I'll apologize as many times as it takes, just please spare me the divorce. If I had known you were the future CEO of K Group, I would never have cheated. Saying this, he clung to me. But I was relentless. My mother introduced me to a top-notch lawyer, and I presented the evidence of his affair. Faced with the evidence, Matt had nothing to say. Considering where this is heading, we might end up in court. Maybe I should consider increasing my demand for compensation. Saying that made Matt turn pale. I'm so sorry. With that, Matt hastily signed the divorce papers. Despite his resistance, the end came anticlimactically. I didn't demand compensation from Rachel, but she ended up losing her job. Actually, Rachel was working for a partner of K Group, so my mother had a word with the partner company. This isn't what was supposed to happen. Rachel was reportedly in tears, but that's not my concern. Rachel will likely have a hard time finding a new job now. Even after divorcing Matt, the troubles continued. Matt and his parents started lying in wait in front of the building where I work. Apparently, Matt's misconduct came to light at his company because of our divorce. It seems Matt had his hands on more than just Rachel. Among them were those who got involved with Matt for promotions. However, my mother had a connection with the president of Matt's company and exposed all his deeds. Upon hearing this, the president was furious and Matt was demoted. This triggered a wave of internal accusations against Matt. Some were even considering filing formal complaints. Matt became uncomfortable staying at the company and ended up resigning. He became unemployed. However, his parents were not working and lived on their pension, unable to support an unemployed Matt. My mother-in-law has always been a stay-at-home mom, and my father-in-law was at most department head before he retired. Their income wasn't much, and their pension was hardly reassuring. Moreover, my in-laws started to feel the pinch and became discontent after I left, missing out on the luxuries they once had. So, they conspired with Matt, laying ambush at my workplace. What a mess! I reached out to the police, but they weren't quick to act. However, a turning point came one day. Ignoring Matt and his ambush, I tried to enter my office building. That's when Matt approached and grabbed my arm. "It hurts, let go." But Matt wouldn't release his grip. "Getting cocky just because we've been quiet, we're struggling without money. Marry me again, and you'll support us," Matt said, pushing a marriage certificate in my face. "All you have to do is sign. For our sake, sign it quickly." My mother-in-law also grabbed my arm, forcing a pen into my hand. Trying to run is futile. My father-in-law was there too, making escape impossible. "Just stop it." When I was in trouble, a voice called out, "Matt, enough is enough." The sharp rebuke came from my mother. "Mom." Tears of relief welled up as my strong mother appeared. My mother has always been there to help me. "Security, over here," she said, calling for the security guard. Eek. In a panic, my in-laws fled. Their departure was truly pitiful. "Don't leave me behind." Only Matt's screams echoed behind. Thus, Matt was caught by security and handed over to the police. The marks where Matt had grabbed me were still vivid on my arm. Because of this, I filed a report this time. Though my in-laws had run away, the police would likely contact them eventually. Matt and my in-laws have acted in a way that would lose them social credibility. Without jobs, the future looks bleak for Matt and his family. Since then, I returned to the headquarters of K Group. Matt has been missing since that incident. It seems he fled to avoid arrest by the police. My in-laws went back to their home after the incident. Consequently, the police visited their home to inquire about the matter voluntarily. For safety, I changed my workplace. I could have continued at my previous company, but I was due to return there in 2 years anyway. My mother decided it would be fine to return now, seeing no issue with it. Since returning to the headquarters of K Group, my days have been a whirlwind. At the branch, I was involved in sales, accounting, planning, and various other roles. I thought I had gained a fair amount of experience, but the scale at K Group's headquarters is entirely different. The numbers alone are on a different scale, so there's a constant pressure. However, I have a strong ally by my side. "Jessica, we're going on a client visit. You need to get your face known quickly." My mother calls out to me. I'm coming now. I hurry after my mother. The business helps me forget the painful past with Matt and his family. And I'm only grateful to my mother who supports me during tough times. To repay my mother, I continue to look forward and move on each day.